with my guest, Lori Desrosiers.
That's close enough.
Is that close enough? That sounds great. And she's a very accomplished poet and educator. And I'm glad to have her here on Poet to Poet, Writer to Writer. Let me just read an introduction to Lori. Lori is the author of The Philosopher's Daughter, published by the Salmon Poetry in 2013, and a chapbook, Inner Sky, from Glasslear Press. Sometimes I Hear the Clock Speak is her second full-length collection. Her poems have appeared in the New Millennium Review, Contemporary American Voices, Best Indie Lit, New England, Best Indie Lit New England, String Poet, Blue Fifth Review, I was in that one, Perrine's Fountain, New Verse News, The Mom Egg, The Bloomberry Anthology of Contemporary Jewish Poetry, and many others. Her work has been nominated for a Pushcart Prize. She edits Naugatuck River Review, a journal of narrative poetry, and World Peace, an online journal. She teaches literature and composition at Westfield State University and Holyoke Community College, and poetry in the Interdisciplinary Studies program for the Lesley University MFA program. So, welcome, and your new book is Sometimes I Hear the Clock Speak. Okay, and that's available from Salmon Press, as we were talking
Salmon
about.
Poetry.
Salmon Poetry.
Yeah.
Or
Amazon. No, well, you can get it here. You can get it on Amazon.
I know, but it's an Ireland-based.
Yes, yeah. It's in the west coast of Ireland.
Okay. I had a poet friend of mine who was published by John Hildebiddle. I don't know if you know him. He used to teach at MIT. But anyway, your latest collection, Sometimes I Hear the Clock Speak, is in large part a poetry memoir, kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah, and there are a number of poems of your childhood. Perhaps you could just tell us a bit about your childhood, what made it unique, and you feel.
Well, this book is about voices, and it's about music and sound, and it's also about time.
Okay.
So some of the time work and voice work is voices from my family.
Okay.
I had a chapbook years ago that was done by Pudding House that was about my mother, my grandmother, and me. It was called Three Vanities. It's unfortunately not available now, but it felt like I was in a workshop, and it felt like my grandmother rose out of the poem I was writing and said, "Write about me." So I started to write about family, which was not what I planned to do originally. But this book a lot of it is about it's responses to music, but then it turned out to be responses to voices and the music of where we come from. So I have some poems in here about being a little girl and skating on the skate pond. And I have poems about my family, my brother. I played the violin in school, so I have poems about that. A poem about that. I have some poems about my grandparents. I have poems about my experiences with music. I was also a guitar player, and I played. So I've done a lot of different music-related things. So they all seem to. And
in fact, a critic has said that pointed out that there's a lot of music in your work, what you're just saying. So is music sort of has been an elixir in your life, and I mean, does it enhance, you feel, your poetry?
I was a musician. I wrote a lot of songs myself before I started writing seriously.
Yeah.
And so for me, music is very important, but it's also how the type of poems that I love and the type of poems that I like to try to write are celebrations of the music in our language. And
in fact, the poem should have a sense of musicality to it, shouldn't it?
Yes, I think that a good poem definitely should have a sense of musicality to it. Yeah.
And so, this is just part of your life, and music is just naturally infused in your poetry. And
I hope so. I try to do that. I'm not actively playing at this point very much. I'm mostly writing.
Uh-huh.
But I still appreciate all those wonderful musicians and songs that I grew up with my grandparents singing Russian songs together. My mother sang for years. She was a wonderful singer. She used to sing lieder and other art songs, and I studied classical music, and I also studied folk music and used to play and write songs. So.
Well, all types of genres influence, speak to each other and are intermingled. So it's right. So it's a good thing.
It's very important. If you're going to study poetry, you should study all of the different genres of poetry. Yeah.
Now, you were recently down in Provincetown and workshop for the workshops, the fine art workshops.
I didn't go to a workshop. I had a very nice week as a resident there. They let me stay.
And what did you do? Tell us about that. I interviewed Christopher Busa, who I don't know if you know him. He runs Provincetown Arts Magazine, and he told me a lot about what goes on in the fine arts program. But you were down there just as a resident.
I was in there the week before they were training the kids who were coming there as interns.
Okay.
And so I didn't really have much to do with the Fine Arts Center. I spent a lot of time walking and going to the beach and writing.
So you were a resident of...
I got to stay at the Fine Arts Center. Yeah, that was a lot.
What's the physical space like? I've never been there.
They have little apartments, kind of. They're like one room. They're little studio apartments, and they have a refrigerator and a little stove. And no, it's lovely. It's a little bit rustic, but it was very nice. The bed was a little hard, but I'm not gonna. I still recommend it.
And so, did you get a lot of work done there? Or?
I did. It was nice. I got some new work started. I did some editing and revising of. It's nice to be somewhere where you don't have your own stuff at home calling you every minute. Hey, the cat. Have to do this or.
Right. So you were just. And were there anyone else there, or you were there?
Very few people were there. There were a couple of visual artists that were there, and we didn't really talk much. We just said hello, and it was kind of quiet and nice. There was a vixen fox that screamed in the middle of the night.
Is there a poem about that?
There will be. I'm working on it. But, I didn't know what it was. It really sounded frightening. I thought it might be like an owl because there's a barn right there, and it also sounds a little bit like a juvenile horned owl. I was checking out sounds online. You're looking for this thing. And then I asked downstairs. She goes, "Oh, no, it's a fox." So I looked up fox cries, and that's what it must have been.
A vixen fox.
Well, they call a vixen would be a female, but they don't only. It's a vixen cry, which is a mating cry, and the males sometimes do it too. So I've learned something about foxes while I was there. And I don't know whether it's they're calling to mate or in the process. But it went on for a long time. It was kind of this eerie scream. It was a very bizarre sound, and that's why I thought it was a bird at first. Actually, the first thing I thought it was one of my neighbors in the apartments maybe was snoring because it was quiet, but then it got louder and louder. And when it got close, it really echoed, and it was terrifying. And then it finally faded away, so the animal was moving, it was very interesting.
That's great.
I finally got back. That was 2:00 in the morning.
Oh, all right.
So, yeah, that's the sleep.
Well, if it was at 3, it would be the dark night of the soul, right? Now,
yeah.
I know, for instance, I was going to ask you, I know you're a college teacher, teaching in a number of places, and you teach poetry among other things, right?
I do get to teach poetry.
Now, do you think that, I was going to ask you, all the kids are texting these days. Do you think the short lines, the original language that used in texting is some way poetic, or do you feel?
It can be. There have been, in fact, I just saw a call for submissions. I don't remember who it was for text length, Twitter length poems or something like that. The idea of the short poem it's like a form, right? You could have, it's 140 characters. I know Twitter has expanded that, but originally. It's a great idea. I don't see why. What's the difference between that and, say, deciding to do a haiku or a sen or a tanka or something like that, where you have a certain number?
We want original language. Some of the that's not even original anymore, LOL, but all these different things that they could put in.
Oh, I suppose. I don't know if they would use text speak in it. That's text spelling in it. That's an interesting question. I would hesitate to use text spelling in any kind of poem, but that's me. I'm the
Unless it's about texting.
I'm the English teacher.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. If it was about texting, I would totally do that. And why not?
Language is very fluid. It's being words that were not even.
Right. I mean, who was it? Was it Phil Levine and Carlos Williams used an ampersand, and that was like a big shocker. That was years ago.
The New York Times had a front page story about how the period is, because of texting, the period is out of.
Oh, I saw that article. Yeah. Yes. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I read it and I thought, well, I kind of like the idea of white space, and because I talk a lot, I love white space. It's something that I encourage my students to use, but if it's not a poem and it's a prose piece, and I don't know, I think it's, why not? If you're going to experiment and have fun with it, but don't tell me I can't use a period anymore.
Okay,
that
I
would be difficult for me.
Now, you also have a very fine magazine. You founded?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the Naugatuck
River Review.
Naugatuck River Review. Give me a bit of the history about this.
Well,
it's biannual, or
it's twice a year. Which is semi-annual. Biannual would be every other year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm being difficult.
That's fine. Go ahead.
But
I didn't know. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I hope
most people don't know that. It's okay. The Naugatuck River Review was started right after I finished my MFA, thinking to myself, oh, I've got all these hours of the week. Why don't I don't know what to do with myself. Why don't I start a journal? And
that was quickly filled up, I imagine.
Probably. What I did was I thought about what kind of a journal I wanted to start. And one of my mentors during the MFA said that every great lyric poet has a drawer full of narrative poetry that they can't get published. And I thought, well, let's try a narrative journal. Nobody's getting there. It's true about narrative. It's hard to get narrative published, or it was.
Why is that?
I think because people are more, it's more modern to write a lyric piece or a language piece, or, something that is less story bound. But everybody writes them, and when you're writing about something that has a story to it, that's.
When did you found
fine.
When did you find
2009.
Okay.
I think was the first issue was January 2009, and we now have a contest every year, which is fun. In fact, we're going to have submissions open in July for the contest, and we are.
Do you do this all by yourself, or do you have a staff?
Well, I have some readers that I send to that are very helpful. I don't have any money to pay them, but they're happy to do it for the accolade in the back of the journal. And I also, this year for the summer issue, I'm trying to also put it out online, so that should be interesting. I'm going to see how that goes.
Oh, good. I haven't done that yet with Ibbotson Street, but
yeah. Well, Word Piece, which is my other little journal, is online. Yeah. It's really late for the next issue right now.
Now, I remember reading one of your poems. It's called The Balance Stone, and it was inspired by a sculpture by Noguchi.
Isamu Noguchi.
Yeah. And you use this enigmatic stone as sort of a metaphor. This is what I'm assuming. Some sort of ghosts that we have. Do you actively court ghosts in your poems?
Well, actually, my next book, which I'm working on, which will be done in a year or two, is about it's about missing people, missing things, and missing things that are not there, and ghosts. So,
have you ever seen a ghost? I have.
You have. Tell me.
Those are my dead cat I've seen.
Well, that's an interesting ghost to see. That's.
I'm not crazy.
I know my cats see the other cats.
Yeah.
I think.
Your cat what?
I think my living cats often chase the ones that used to be here.
Really?
I'm not sure
I
about that.
I thought one mine was torturing my cat because he was old for a while.
I don't know.
And then he suddenly calmed down. I don't know, but I believe in ghosts.
Do you? Yeah.
A lot of very sane people have told me they've seen them.
I know a lot of people who've seen them. I have a series that I'm working on right now of poems that I didn't bring with me, but about the ghosts that were seen immediately following the Japanese tsunami. And they are strong believers in spirits. And these were, there was a girl who did her PhD thesis on them. She went and interviewed cab drivers in Japan in the air that were people. Someone would get into their taxi. This is documented stuff. It's very interesting, and they would put the meter on, which was the only proof that they really thought it was true, right? And some of them saw someone in the back mirror too, but they would get in the cab and say, "Take me to somewhere," and sometimes they would either get there and no one was in the cab, or the person said to one woman who they picked up, that district is empty now. And she said, "Am I dead?" And he turned around and she was gone.
You know, it's interesting because I came home the other day. Now we're speaking about ghosts because Mark Doherty, I interviewed him years ago, and he talked about ghosts.
Oh, excellent.
And he wasn't here, but I interviewed him online. But I came home and my cat's plate, where the dry food is, the plate with the wet food was right on top of it. I mean, it was a metal plate that he would have to have. It would be very difficult for a cat to do that, to deliberately.
I don't know. I don't put it past my cats to lift things.
Yeah, you think? Yeah. Oh, all right. Oh, well. Took away my ghost story. Anyway, so you have about...
I just have some...
by the way, let's just say that you're going to be reading at Lori Mindock, our good friend, studio tonight at 7 p.m. at the Arts Armory on Highland Ave in Somerville. And, if you haven't been down to the Savannah Barber studio, it's a really great place. And she just rearranges to the bookstore, and so it's. I haven't got a chance to see it yet, but it's supposed to be really improved. And
I was there last year, I think. It was probably within the last year. Minion Ariel King had her readings there for Telltale Inklings, and I got to come because I'm in that anthology. So I saw the.
And who are you reading with?
Heather Hughes, who's a poet who lives in Somerville, and she's a recent Lesley graduate. I teach at Lesley in the MFA program, and she was one of my former students, so it's very exciting.
Well, it's exciting to be reading with one of your former students.
Yeah.
Tell Heather to call. I want to get her on Poet to Poet, Writer to Writer. Tell her to contact me.
I will.
Somerville poet. So why don't you read some poems?
Okay. All right, I'll start with the Balance Stone, since you like it. This actually has a story behind it, which you might find interesting because, yes, the stone is a metaphor, and you were asking about that, but also there really was another stone. The sculpture, a Noguchi sculpture, was called the Balance Stone, and it has like 4 feet of wood that I thought was stone. I wasn't sure what it was. And the roof on top, a little roof. And on top of the roof, there's a piece of quartz that's balanced on it. Well, according to the placard next to the statue, there used to be another stone on top, and it was removed by the artist. Which makes it really... But I was so fascinated with this phenomenon that there was a ghost stone up there that used... It's like the thing that used to be there. So that's why I read the poem. The Balance Stone. There used to be another stone. The ghost stone is not there above the stone that is. The stone that is on the roof of the building where air passes through windows that are not there. Like the quartz gathered in the woods, near the house a child used to live in, who used to be me. The ghost of the child is balanced on the roof of what I have forgotten.
And as a poet, you really got to be attuned to these things and really have that sort of, you know.
I think that's what makes us poets, is that our brains don't stay in the reality of what we're doing.
Always,
They go into poet mind, I call it. That a lot of people call it. I like that. Let's see. This is one that was, I think it was in New Verse News, it's a very short poem. It's after an AP story from a few years ago. A grand piano recently showed up on a sandbar in Miami's Biscayne Bay, about 200 yards from condominiums on the shore. That's true.
Oh, really?
I saw a picture of it. Perhaps jellyfish will learn to play Bach cantatas, or old Diver Dan's composition, Seaweed Suite in C minor, for squid trumpet, piano, and 4 octopus orchestra. Excuse me.
We have the water.
Oh, sorry about that.
Mm-hmm. Happens.
I'm a little allergic to dust, and I'm sure there's a lot of dust in these studios. Yeah, I think so. Skate Pond. Want another one? 1962. Skating alone, someone grabs my hand and pulls. I almost fall. It is the end of the terrible formation called a whip. 10 or 20 big kids holding hands, going much too fast for me. I tumble and am dragged along until they let me go. I limp across the ice, all skate strings and bloody knees. Nobody comes to check. Nobody cares. That is from Croton.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
We used to walk. You were just saying that your brother lives there. We used to walk from Mount Green Road to Lounsbury Pond. I remember this. It's funny. I still remember the names of the places.
Yeah. Right near the Hudson River, too.
Not too far. This was up on the mountain there. And
so does my brother. He lives up on a hill, huge hill.
Maybe he lives in my old house.
Could be.
Does he have a big house?
It's fairly big.
Is it stucco? Is it old?
Yeah.
I don't mean maybe he lives in my house. Oh, you have to ask him.
Yeah, it's up. I forget now.
It's not Mount Green Road.
Oh no. Okay.
I know.
So
that's where we used to live.
Yeah.
But they've changed a lot of stuff up there.
But you can see the Hudson through the trees there.
Yeah, we used to be able to.
Yeah.
Boy, wouldn't that be crazy if he was like a block away or something. Anyway, those days, you remember, they used to say, go out. It didn't matter if it was winter or summer.
Right,
go
you didn't have
play.
to have a play date. Right?
You know, take your skates, take your little brother. I was 7 years old. Take your little brother and your skates and go. You know, they didn't think twice about it.
It's play dates now, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Go ahead. I'll keep going.
I'll keep going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is one about my mom, who was 92.
Okay. Mine's 90. Still doing well.
So far, so good. Dancing with Mother. On the living room's slate floor, my brother and I twirled while Mother shimmied to Never on a Sunday, did the Charleston to Elvis records, pulled from the pile of 45s on the shelf, the needle delicately placed, skimming vinyl grooves on wooden console. Mother in her skirts and slippers, we'd follow her movements, slide, step forward, step back, turn. Mother, now 92, closes her eyes, puts her head back. Remember when we used to dance in the living room? I could have been a dancer, you know. So like growing up with other people's dreams, and she had a few things that she would have liked to do that she didn't do. And she had some things she did do. So that's good. How about one about camp?
Camp.
Did you go to camp?
I did. Camp Walnut, someplace up in, yeah, I went to a few camps. Camp Brooklyn.
This is in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Reveille.
Okay, yes, I remember those horns.
7:15 a.m. at YMCA camp in New Hampshire. They sometimes played it jazzy. Dum dum da da dum. I heard a bugle in my head every morning all year. Didn't need an alarm for school. Always made it to orchestra by 8. All through high school. 4 years of camp. Stuck. Hard. At night, I heard taps. Only went to camp for 4 years. Boy, that bugle gets in your head.
Well, ours was on a record player. But, yeah.
Oh, aren't you? We were lucky. I don't know if it was the director or the co-director. One of those guys actually played a really, really good bugle.
Oh,
And,
good, yeah.
he played it every day.
Get you going.
Yeah, well.
Remember the bug juice.
Ugh. Yeah, that's funny. I have this taste when you said that. I love that. Like, I'm very Proustian. I love the, you have a taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
Like Proust, Madeleine, then you
Yeah,
taste it. Right. I remember the taste of the bug juice, but it also tasted like the metal pouring pouring
yeah,
thing.
the pitcher.
Pitcher. Couldn't think of the word. The pouring thing. Isn't that funny? So you have this funny taste of
metallic.
Maybe we had metal cups, perhaps. That's why, too. I don't remember.
No, I know we had the metal.
We had a lot of metal.
Juice.
I know we had our canteens.
Yeah, it was very watery, sort of like Kool-Aid type
gross stuff.
Yeah.
Dreadful stuff.
So when you were hot, it was,
It was
good.
Yeah. I can't believe all the stuff they fed us back then. I
With
should
grilled
write some
cheese.
food poems. Well, yeah. Grilled cheese. I have some food poems, but not in here. Let's see. Oh, you'll appreciate this. This is also a Croton poem. Since we're talking about Croton-on-Hudson. For those of you who just tuned in, Doug and I were talking about Croton-on-Hudson before.
Well, now it's a very artistic community. I mean, my brother's a lighting designer.
It always was.
Oh, was it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Yeah, my dad was a philosophy professor and a psychiatrist, but a lot of people that we knew back then were artists and writers, and they all lived in Croton. Yeah, very interesting place.
Is that John Cheever's territory? He was down in Westchester more.
Well, Westchester is, Croton's in Westchester.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I thought it was Rockland or something.
Nope.
No.
It's the almost to the end of Westchester, but it's Westchester. Tulip Tree. I haven't read this out loud in ages, so that'll be fun. Under the tulip tree at the top of a hill, a girl grew long and sinewy, like the vines that tried to climb the ancient tree to no avail. But she reached the lowest branches easily and climbed up high where she could see the river and the rooftops below. She knew the name of each tree, which flowers came in spring, which fruit in summer. Her bare feet grabbed the earth, walked easily amidst the grass and rocks. Her hands touched each tree as she played. It was a perfect haven until they moved away. In the city, trees were small and weak, their roots bound, small circles in pavement, branches too symmetrical. Even old trees in the park seemed to breathe in short gasps, the dirty air, while pigeons coughed among the spindly branches.
Thank you very much for joining us on Poet to Poet, Writer to Writer, Lori.